out-of-date website's almost worse than.
Everyone, what about the architecture of Manhattan?
Well, I have some. I'm not as fancy as Lenny is. I did print out some drawings of AutoCAD of contracts that I've been working with. There's only like 6 of them, so you'll have to share. So I mean, all the information that we found in the original manuscripts and that Jaap has been working with, and Charlie, of course, has been working with. I mean, there's so much more that we can learn now about the true settlers of New Netherlands that I think that needs to be definitely we can incorporate that into this project as well. Just as much as that, you know, Manhattan Island didn't cost $24, or and that what these people built is not Dutch colonial architecture. I think it plays into a lot of things that we have been talking about this morning, that, you know, only a little more than 50% of the settlers actually came from the Netherlands or the Dutch Republic. You have people having to learn to cooperate, communicate, deal with a different environment, different building materials, and that all shapes what they eventually build. And the drawing that you see in front of you is the house that Annette Dirks commissioned in 1661. That's a partial reconstruction that I've been working on. But it's sort of what we've, again, talked about this morning. I mean, there's so many aspects that you can, once you click on this one house, and I don't know if we actually know if it was on Manhattan or in the old city in New Amsterdam, but the stoop in front of the house was supposed to be like the stoop in front of Martijn Clegier's house, which is on the Castello plan. Now, unfortunately, the Castello plan is not detailed enough to tell us what the stoop looked like, but at least you know she wanted a stoop that resembled his stoop. There were other features on there that the contract specifically talks about, the types of windows that were required, the number of structural bends, and again, there's only about 20 documents, 20 building contracts surviving. But I think combined, there's enough information that we can start to reconstruct what the original settlers might have built. Another interesting aspect of Annette Dirks' house is that she, pardon my French, she screwed 2 other carpenters because they had a contract with her husband. Her husband passed away, and she said, well, with the passing of my husband, the contract passed, so I can go out and find 2 other carpenters. And that ended up being a whole court case going back and forth. And so, again, it's not just the architecture, it's not just the house, it's the people who lived in it, what they did. Unfortunately, I don't know that much about Annette Dirks yet, but you can definitely, piece things together. I think at this point, we've all been working in our own specialties, be it history, be it religion, or other parts of New Netherlands or of colonial America, and I think if we put them all together, we can definitely come up with a great website and a resource for everybody. So,
anything else on architecture?
Well, architecture does, or I'm reminded that architecture is fixed, and a lot of the things on this list are fixed. But given the technology that we're talking about, I think fluidity is very important. And one thing that occurs to me that I don't see on here are the markets, the exchange of goods, not only between merchants and shippers, but householders, and the way people moved around an environment like this. And I think it would be well to try to get that motion, particularly for the people who are going in there and experiencing this. If they have at least 2 or maybe 3 to move around the city, and the exchange of goods in markets is one very easy way to do it.
There's a lot of movement of cattle.
Yes.
Out of New England down to Manhattan, and also from Virginia into the South River area into Delaware, herding of cattle around.
And there are pigs all over.
Pigs everywhere.
Yeah, but other references to cattle, actually, cattle in the generic term,
A lot of
pigs, goats, we found predominantly pig bones and sheep. almost no cattle excavated. And there was some reference, somebody decided that they were alluding to cattle. The generic term is cattle as cattle specific. The role of pigs has always been a topic with me, and the effect of the pigs on the environment and the role of the pigs in the disputes between the indigenous people and the Dutch, which appear to have been a very serious major factor. And I've always been intrigued about the destruction of the shell banks and the oyster beds by the roving pigs and pigs. So there's a lot of commerce issues in the market. Mrs. Kirsten setting up the market at the Strand in front of her house.
That, she did that by canvas sites and market.
Yes, but it was with the input of the native women who couldn't
Okay.
get the guys to meet on time for them. Camps.
There's some feed the pigs peaches on Long Island. Spread the peaches on it.
Charlie, Frank has some interest in this.
Oh, Frank.
I could talk for a minute about this house on the corner here, which is right now at Hanover Square and the corner of South Winning Street. And this is one of the things that got me involved in this project, because that house belonged to my ancestor Thomas Lewis, who was a shipping merchant in New Amsterdam and a city alderman and a trader with the West Indies. And I had, over the years, done a lot of research about this house, just through family interest. And when the British Memorial Garden was starting their construction on Hanover Square, they were interested in the history of Hanover Square. And it just happened that I had assembled over many, many years a lot of completely scattered details. Every time I saw a reference to a house on Hanover Square, somebody who lived on Hanover Square, I had just put it into my file. So I had all of this material when I wrote a history of Hanover Square in the colonial period. Now, talking about specialized topics, that's really diamond etching, perhaps, but it's also impossible to do that kind of thing spontaneously, because the information is so scattered. Here,
That's the study. Hanover Square in the British colonial period.
This is the house that my interest was focused on, because I naturally wanted to know about my grandfather, several generations back, what kind of life he led at that time.